Welcome to the Community First Igloo, where we're live for Teal, the show. The question I know everyone wants to know: how's Trevor Lawrence's ankle? We'll talk all about it here, hanging out at the Community First Igloo. A lot of fun, even though the Jaguars are coming off a little bit of a rough game.
I know, Jamal, we are talking heartbreak, but luckily no broken ankles, no broken bones. So we are going to be talking about that injury. As you can see, we've got a full house tonight. I think everyone's tuned in to hear exactly how he's doing. It's been the question on everybody's mind. You know, I wanted to show you, the Jaguars even put an entire page up on their website that just says Trevor Lawrence, because that is how interested people are in what he's going to be doing this weekend.
Look, when everybody wants to know, everybody wants to know. Nobody ever wants the star quarterback to be dealing with an injury issue, right? That's never a good thing, but once it is, the traffic starts rolling in because everybody wants to know. Here's what happened on Monday night. Trevor Lawrence kind of got rolled up a little bit, and he was on the field. He says he thought it was a little bit worse than what he found out that it is, and it looked bad. I think a lot of people were worried with the way he threw his helmet and was on the field. He had to be helped off by the trainers back into the tunnel. Never good, and ankle injuries can be scary, but luckily Trevor says that it wasn't as bad as he thought it might have been in that moment.
I feel a lot better. I feel really, I feel a lot better than I would have thought I'd feel. I'm very fortunate. I'm thankful that it wasn't a worse injury, than what I kind of thought it was on the field. So I'm thankful for that, just some flexibility. Will, my guy in the weight room that trains me and stuff, is doing a good job. Needs a raise or something. So he's doing a good job. And I'm just thankful, and I appreciate all the people, the thoughts and prayers. And thankfully it wasn't anything serious, but that stuff means a lot. And it worked. I'm feeling good, so I'm thankful for that. Really just taking it one day at a time. I'm trying to do as much as I can each day without, aggravating it or making anything worse, but trying to progress towards, hopefully playing. Like that's the goal every week and every day, is to try to get as healthy as possible. And the past 48 hours have been some big steps, and I'm really happy with how it's healing up. So we'll see. Obviously can't give any answers right now, and just gonna take my time and do everything right, and with the medical people downstairs and the trainers and in the weight room. So just, check every box that I can to try to be able to play on Sunday.
You heard him. The goal is to be able to play on Sunday, which is what everybody wants. You want to see your star quarterback out there on the field. Now, Trevor did get helped off the field by trainers. Jacksonville may have gotten a little bit of heat, national broadcast, folks wondering where the cart was for the star quarterback. But Trevor said today, look, he wanted to walk off the field.
Exactly. I mean, and that came straight from him. Listen, I get it. To cart or not to cart, that was the question. But he said, no, that's not for me. And it's really interesting how much national attention this game has garnered. When you want to take to the tunnel, I get it. You don't want to be schlepped off in a gurney. I wouldn't want to be either. And I think it's so interesting when you see Trevor's interviews, the stoicness of his voice versus the passion you saw when the helmet hit the grass, when you saw him hit the ground, is so different. So what do you think? Do you think we're going to see him this weekend?
Look, I think he'll play, but that is the Shakespearean question. Whether or not will Trevor to play or not to play, right? That's what it comes down to, and it's about managing the long haul of the season over the short term of the player wanting to play. It's the same thing about whether or not he should have taken the cart, knowing it was a long walk down the tunnel, too. He did say that the tunnel walk was a little bit longer than he thought about.
It's tough. It's tough. I might have called it once your cameras couldn't see out the tunnel. I'd be like, all right, bring it in.
Okay, we're all trying to figure out those home remedies right now, how to fix an ankle. Everybody has that one family member that has a home remedy for everything.
Oh, yeah. Call Grandma.
You got to call Grandma.
Call Granny.
In the Jaguars' case, maybe you just call Josh Allen. So Josh Allen having a fantastic season. I haven't told Jan about this, and I wanted to save it. Josh Allen's having a fantastic season for the Jaguars. Star type of season. 14 sacks already, best season of his career. He told us last week that part of his secret sauce for this year is he's been using onions on his feet and ankles to reduce the swelling.
Does it work on thighs?
I don't know. But he said his
it.
doctor prescribed it. So he's been using onions. I'll have to ask him if it works on thighs. But he did say, we asked him today if he'd be willing to share some of his onions with Trevor.
All right.
If Trevor wants some of the onions, I will give Trevor the onions. I have a lot of them. My doc going to have them chopped up, ready to go.
I love that he's such a share bear, though. He's like, Trevor needs my onions. I got him. I mean, that's a good teammate to share your onions.
It's perfect. You have to share the onions, and Josh is willing to share the onions. He's got to make sure he explains it to Trevor as to what they're for, because I'm not sure everybody knows that home remedy, or maybe it was just me. Did you know the home remedy? Because I had never heard the onions thing.
Yeah, so I'd be really interested to hear what everybody's home remedy is. I know growing up in my household, listen, we got a lot of tall people. It was like a household full of Vikings. So growing pains were a big issue. And you know what we did was put soap under your fitted sheet.
What did the soap do?
It made your leg pain go away. I don't know if that was actually true or if it's just because, you know, Grammy said it was going to, ergo it did. But yeah, so if you go into an Angel guest room bed or something and it's kind of lumpy, just check. There's probably soap under there.
It's the soap underneath. I guess I didn't get tall enough to need to
Dad, you're watching. I know you got
one.
soap under that fitted sheet at home.
Somebody's going to be taking notes for that and save that for when their kid has some growing pains. We'll have to find out who uses the soap under the sheets trick. If you use it, make sure you send us a picture of it because I'm interested at this point. I want to know if this works. All right, we still got plenty more Teal the Show coming your way. Coming up after this break, we'll start talking big picture of what's next for the Jaguars. That's straight ahead right here on CW17. Welcome back here live to the Community First Igloo and to Teal the Show. Look, I know after the Monday Night Football game, a lot of you felt like the sky was falling because it wasn't a great game on national TV, but the Jaguars are still in control of their destiny. It's not the end of the world. It's only their 4th loss of the season, and they have 8 wins. So comparatively speaking, things are okay.
Yeah, you know, but Jamal, we were all asking, hey, what does this mean? Where do we stand? And you told me, look, there's really not a lot of breathing room. So when it comes to where we're standing, how are the odds looking?
Look, right now it's a tight race, and nobody saw this coming, but it is a tight race in the AFC South. Take a look at the standings. The Colts and Texans are right behind the Jaguars. Both of them have 7 wins. Jaguars have 8, so not exactly a ton of breathing room. Good news is the Colts and Texans play each other one more time, so one of them will take a loss. So that's good, and you just hope it's the Colts since the Jaguars beat them twice. So if they have a tied record with the Colts at the end of the year, the Jaguars have that tiebreaker. So that's good news. So you just hope that the Colts beat the Texans in a few weeks.
Exactly. I mean, that's what we're all going to hope for. Or we hope that somebody else hits the grass just like Trevor did, or is that tacky?
We never hope for injuries.
That's bad. That's bad sportsmanship. I'm a little selfish now that I'm Jags Jana, okay? But in terms of, you know, what do we need to make happen? So where do you feel we can really control where we're standing?
Look, the Jaguars just have to win their games. It's that simple. Really, they control the driver's seat. If they win out, they win the AFC South. And if they win out, they're still in a good position in the AFC. Take a look at those AFC standings right here. The Jaguars are still in the thick of the top teams in the AFC right now. They're in 4th place with 8 wins, but they're also tied with the Kansas City Chiefs, who have that same 8-4 record. So by far not the end of the world here. The Ravens and Dolphins both have 9 wins right now. Jaguars play the Ravens, so they could give them that 4th loss of the year when they play them in just a couple of weeks. So Jaguars full control of their future.
Now, when you're looking at these standings and we're listening to, you know, what Coach Doug Peterson has to say, do you think he's going to make that call based on that lack of breathing in the room that we have now? Or do you think we're going to see who's up on deck?
Look, I think it's ultimately going to come down to Trevor Lawrence and his health. Because at the end of the day, the decision is going to weigh into not just this week, but down the road. If Trevor's ankle could be re-aggravated, I don't think he'll play. Because ultimately, you have to think about it. Everybody wants to talk about the playoffs, but if you throw Trevor out there and the ankle gets worse, you can throw the playoffs out the window.
And there is so much speculation out there right now. You know, we were just looking through Instagram, Twitter, seeing some of our social hits, and everyone is zoomed in on what he looked like at that press conference. He was in an ace bandage with some slide-ons, and everyone, you know, everyone's parent went, there is no support in that shoe. You know, all our old school coach mentalities come out. You need support in the ankle. And I thought that was really great, and how people were talking about how that's going to affect where we're standing in terms of our next game.
Hey, it's good to see Trevor roll in there without the boot on, without the need of the crutches. That means that ankle must be feeling at least a little bit okay. Somebody asked him if he was nervous just walking around, and he said, well, you just try to walk like normal.
Right.
You can't overthink it, right? Walking is walking. You've known how to do it for a long time. So hopefully Trevor just keeps walking like normal right onto the game field on Sunday. That would be good news for the Jaguars. That would be good news that every Jaguars fan wants to hear, but we'll have to wait a little bit on that. With Trevor's injury questions, coming up next in Teal the Show, we'll start to talk about some of the other injuries the Jaguars have and some of the players you probably don't know that are going to be out on the field on Sunday. That's straight ahead when Teal the Show returns. Welcome back here in the Teal the show. So the phrase that you always hear around football is the next man up mentality. Well, the Jaguars are going to have to use that a little bit this week. They had been healthy all year long. Injuries finally start to pile up on Monday night.
Listen, I mean, and we see those things happen. You know, you go through a pretty extensive preseason, then season hits. I mean, and the reality is the body can only take so much, but you do always notice injury seems to come in sets. Now, what Coach Peterson was saying is that, hey, when we're training, we're always training everybody like everyone is starting tomorrow, and I think this is where we see where the money hits the mat.
This is it, and this is where you have to have the entire team always ready to go, because at a moment's notice, you're called upon. So let's go through a couple of the guys that maybe you don't know, but could be on the field on Sunday. If Trevor Lawrence can't play, it means they have to turn the keys to that offense over to C.J. Beathard. C.J.'s a veteran. He's been in the NFL for 7 years, started 12 games. None of them have been here in Jacksonville, but he's been here for 3 years. He's had 18 career touchdown passes. They trust C.J. if he has to play.
Yeah, and that's great to hear. Now, have you heard anything from him in the press? How is he feeling about potentially needing to take those keys and drive us to a win?
Look, C.J. says that this is the life of a backup quarterback. It's what he signed up for. He knows that at a moment's notice he can get a call, and that's what happened on Monday night. At the moment's notice, he had to get ready, go in there and try and win the football game. He came close.
Yep.
He came close. So this is a little bit actually easier for him, because if you have the whole week knowing that you can prepare with the offense, getting those reps, he'll be even that much closer to being where he wants to be as he gets ready. Another guy that we'll be keeping an eye on that you may have seen on Monday night, how about the rookie wide receiver Parker Washington?
He made quite a splash.
He made a big splash. Look, that's right, Parker
Washington.
He's a rookie from Penn State. He had 6 catches, caught his first touchdown pass on Monday night. And if you were watching that game, he had a little bit of a celebration. He kind of put his hands up like that. That was his touchdown celebration. His teammates love it. During preseason, all the wide receivers were doing that all on the training camp field. So that means they like him, and they think he's a good player. So now he's getting his chance to show it out on the field.
All right, do you guys have a touchdown celebration dance? You got anything good? What does yours look like? Oh, what is that? That the gritty?
It looks like a gritty. There we go.
It looks like a gritty. See, I knew what it was. I knew what it was.
We'll give him a 10 out of 10 on that one. 10 out of 10.
All right, so another guy that you're going to see hitting the field potentially is Blake Hance.
Right, Blake Hance could play on that same play. Trevor Lawrence got hurt. Walker Little also pulled his hamstring. He didn't practice today, so that would put the Jaguars, if he can't play, on their 3rd string left tackle. That means Blake Hance has to play for them. Blake Hance has been in the NFL for about 3 years. He's made 8 starts over his career. This is his first year with the Jags. He's that utility guy all over the place for the team. If he has to get out there on the field, then the Jaguars are going to have to roll Blake Hance.
Listen, tonight we've got all of our Channel 4 family in here, so I know they'll appreciate this. He's the MMJ of athletes, right? He's the guy who's going to need to do it all. So for all of our Channel 4 people, I know our production people will appreciate that reference. But like you said, utility guy, he's going to be able to fill a lot of gaps. I mean, and at some point, if we're already on 3rd string, they're pulling you out of the press box, right?
At some point, they have to start figuring stuff out. If he can't go, if something happened to him, you start thinking who's behind him. And it's a guy you interviewed, actually, earlier in training camp, Chandler. He would be the next guy up if something happened to Blake Hance.
And not that I would ever want to do that, because, again, we don't want to ever wish injury on anybody. But Chandler, it really just has a special place in my heart. He has battled so many different challenges in his personal life, facing cancer, and then really turning that around and becoming a really phenomenal community man. I just love seeing him. Coach kind of refers to his team as blue-collar players. I feel like this is the kind of guy who really represents that.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. And then the last guy that you might want to know that you don't know is Gregory Jr. Trey Herndon went into the concussion protocol, might not play this week. Gregory Jr., a draft pick from the Jaguars a couple of years ago. This is his 2nd year in the league. He hasn't started any games. Here's a challenge for you. You see his college on the screen there? Can you try and say that for me?
Wichita Baptist University.
That's pretty close. Wichita?
Oh, Wichita?
Wichita, something.
Bless you.
There you go. Yeah. It's Wichita. Wichita Baptist.
Okay, word on the street is it's Wichita.
It's not said the way it's spelled. It's one of those where it's like.
I know what Wichita looks like it's spelled like. I don't know why. I guess it was.
We were close.
Listen,
we were close. Sorry, Greg, and all of our
Arkansas
viewers. But Greg could be playing on Sunday for the Jaguars if Trey Herndon can't play, which is a likely possibility. Didn't practice today. Greg's still looking for that first NFL start. He's another guy that next man up mentality, that when your number's called, your number's called.
Exactly. You're never truly on the bench. You've always got to be prepared to play. We were talking earlier about just facing those injuries and having that tenacity to be ready to go onto the field at any time.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough when your number's called, having to be ready to go at that moment's notice. But Some of these guys are going to have a week lead up to really get accustomed to being in the lineup, knowing what the team's asking from them. So that's going to be big for helping to get them ready for the Cleveland Browns. We've still got a little bit more Teal to show coming up. Coming up after this, we'll talk about a nominee for a very coveted award in the NFL that's coming from the Jaguars locker room. Great community guy. He's been here in Jacksonville for a little bit. We'll talk more about it when Teal the Show returns right after this. And welcome back. All right, the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award. It's one of the most coveted awards given out by the NFL each year, sought out by players. A former Jaguars player actually won it. Calais Campbell has won it in the past. Each year, each team has a nominee for the award. This year, Jaguars player DeJuan Smoot is the Jaguars nominee for the award. He and his wife are opening up a school here in Jacksonville, something very close to his heart. Smoot's one of the longest tenured guys on the Jaguars roster, has really become a part of this community, and he is honored to be nominated for the award, and his teammates say he is so deserving.
Look what the work he's done. Look what the work that he's doing. Coming into the league, he always wanted to be a part of Jacksonville. This is his home. And for him, he's leaving a legacy outside of football. And he's helping impact families in early education, probably in need of financial aid. So that's a big step, man. That's, like I said earlier, some LeBron level stuff. And he's doing it here in Jacksonville. So he's, like I said, he's leaving his legacy. It's huge. I support him. And this is what he always wanted to do, and him and his wife are doing a heck of a job, and I want to see him go this thing bigger.
Smoot has done a lot of work in the community. He's worked with the Better Dad Society here in Jacksonville. He and his wife are always doing great things around Jacksonville.
And that's something that you love to see from an athlete, because it's even something that we heard from Chandler. When you have that platform, you also have a responsibility that comes with it. And as an athlete, when you can elevate the message of somebody outside of yourself, it's really taking full advantage of those God-given talents that you're using on the field.
Yeah, and sometimes I think we forget just how much some of these guys do in the community. Last week, if you were watching that Monday night game and you noticed some of the cleats, it was My Cause, My Cleats week. A lot of the guys representing local organizations here in Jacksonville. Some of those cleats are being auctioned off to raise money for those organizations, so just another way that they're giving back around the community.
Yeah. My Claws, My Cleats is such an interesting organization because each athlete gets to pick who they support. And so it's really special to see these athletes outside of their jersey talking about something that's truly important to them, that's been life-changing for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, kind of a look into what they really care about off the field. You don't always get that glimpse into who these athletes are as people and what's close to their heart, but that's their opportunity to kind of show you on their shoes, but out on the field what they really care about.
Exactly. I love that. All right, well, before we go, I know we got to talk game day predictions, and I've got to hear where your mind is. We've had a lot happening this week. We've talked about how many strings down we are in some of these positions, so what do you think that leaves us leading into the weekend?
Look, the Browns are a good team with a good defense. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to end up playing. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, but I do think the Jaguars should be able to go into Cleveland and get a win, which would be good because they need to keep that win train rolling. So we'll see. If Trevor Lawrence can play, I think that leads the team to a big win. I think C.J. Beathard could do a good job as well, but the Jaguars need to go into Cleveland and get a win, and I think they'll get the job done.
Now, I'm going to shamelessly plug Jamal right here because he has got the inside scoop. So if there is any change, you want to make sure that you're connected with him because you've got to keep all of us updated. Listen, you're in the locker room, you got to keep us in the know.
All right, good night, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us.